Alright, so this one's going to be a little bit of a different episode. Not exactly sure how this one's going to go. People were saying they want some educational videos or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Who would want such a thing, especially on Caravan stores of all things? But, we'll go ahead and, we'll entertain the idea here, so we'll say. Well, these are at least this is like a test run, so I'm just doing this on a video we already have. I have it muted, so that way we'll just hear my commentary. I'll probably skip through uh, some of the anime edits in here, naturally. And, well, kind of just go over the game that we got here. So, this one is me versus Lady THC, although she said she didn't remember playing this game. So, if it's not her, we know Ambry uses her account, so this is more than likely me versus Ambry. So, get wrecked yet again. And, well, let's see how it starts. This is going to be a little bit of editing inception because I have to use my editing software while also grabbing the audio from a different thing. It's a whole issue. We'll see how well this goes. Anyways, let's get right into it here. Me versus, more than likely, Ambry. You'll love to see it. Casual formalities, as always. The only thing that makes me doesn't think that it's Ambry is the fact that they use emotes, because they never do. They always just try and, rush me. Here we're just chilling. This is usually how this goes. I mean, unless Lady wants to duel, which she had the last couple of times, but unless they, want to duel me, I don't really care to, go out of my way to force it. Alright, so they drop twins here. I mean, fair enough. They're relatively slow, so you can get some points back even if they're going to die. I'm pretty sure twins are 4 cost at this point. And also, thanks to their buff, they now have the initial effect of having quick for, I think it's 30 seconds or something. Duel-wise, it was actually a pretty good buff. Why they wouldn't just make quick a natural part of their kit, I really don't understand that part, but I guess for duels, it's good enough. And then I guess they probably figured that in PvE, you're always going to have a quicker. At least you should, but you know how CS is. And, well, some of the players in CS. But yeah, twins, I don't know if I would say they're the greatest starting off people. Mostly because there's just nothing on the field right now, so placing anything already, in some sense, puts you at a disadvantage at the fact that now you've already got a 4 cost down. You probably get probably 1 or 2 Sphera, depending on how far back you put them. So it's not the worst. It's just they're more of a counter unit, so it would have made far more sense to hold them and strip buffs off of some of my people, though a lot of mine don't generally require on too many buffs that I would care about them stripping, so it's not too bad, at least on my end. So this is me oh, we're actually doing this? Now, normally, alright, so I'm throwing down Mamba here, and the reason being is, presumably, if you're going to throw down the twins, you're going to try and protect them, right? So then the idea would be to in order to cover them, unless you don't care about losing them, is to have some sort of a nuke ready. And the idea is, if I'm going to get nuked and insta-lose somebody, why not insta-lose somebody that's only a 2 cost? Because, that's essentially just like losing a beast. Who really cares? And if Mamba manages to get some damage on the twins before she ends up dying, then it's all good. So let's see how this plays. Alright, we dropped the Mamba, that insta CC. My Mamba's 38, so she's relatively built. That's just disgusting. Yeah. LV50 Almiral. Very fun and interactive. Definitely not cancer to deal with. So one of the things, thankfully, is with the Lammy buff, she removes 6 buffs. So, using Lammy against Almiral is actually pretty good, and people are going to be like, but she doesn't hit flying targets, but she actually does with half of her kit. It's her AS that hits flying, I think. So, in theory, Almiral here would be more or less crystallized for 30 seconds, which would Remove any of the buffs that are on her just because it's not going to last that long, along with whatever 6 buffs the game decides to remove from her. So, definitely usable. You can see there's a bit of a, just a little bit of a level disparity there between my 37 Lammy and their LB50 All-Myral. So, you can see how this is not going to be great. Yeah, so apparently the AS was still going off there. I thought the initial effect was done. I guess it's a multi-hit. I was thinking it was all at once, so that was a little awkward. Alright, and then we've got Marine, naturally. Marine is actually very good against All-Myral. And the idea here is, well, I'm sitting behind the tower, so I don't have to worry about All-Myral or the twins coming after me, because the twins will, the way their AI currently is set up is they will prioritize characters over towers, since they don't really do tower damage like that, so they will go and hunt out people, which in this situation actually works to my advantage, because Marine's gonna she's gonna insta drop her AS, which will hit All-Myral, and because the twins are gonna be brought to her closer due to the fact of All-Myral, or due to the fact of their AI wanting to hunt down people, it's actually gonna pull them into range of the Marine AS. And some people might be concerned that because All-Myral has counter armor, which does restrict, which would normally leave you relatively vulnerable. The thing about it is, due to the fact that we have the dot damage from Marine, even if we do get restricted, so long as the AS goes off, I'm going to get all the ticks of damage. So as long as I get the tick of damage that kills them, you'll be freed immediately from the restrict. Although if you don't kill them, then you're still going to be restricted, and that's going to be fun. But we both have LB50 characters here, and Marine just doesn't care about anything, so, yeah. And as I said, you can see how the twins, as soon as I put down Marine, they actually had a character they could focus rather than the tower, so they started to walk forward. However, that tricked the AI into walking into Marine's AS, therefore, me getting a 2-for-1 there, which you'll have to see. Rips my tower HP, though. Alright, so they drop Frog right here. And, well, Frog is a thing. LB42, relatively up there. You hate to see it. Marine, not very good into Frog, naturally, through invincibility just screwing over her AS and the damage. So, a good drop there on their end. However, they're relatively far into my territory after just losing 9 points of value, so that's a pretty... I'm not sure I would have used that just then. I'm not saying not use Frog at all. I'm just saying I don't know if I would use it right next to my van, and we'll see a little bit of a punish come in here as a result of that. As we can see, I have Echo Nut primed, and the reason I would use Echo Nut here is that's all I really have the cost for, as well as I can strip the invincibility, which my van gun should be able to take advantage of that through all the status effects I have on it. In which case, I'll CC Frog out a little bit, which is hopefully enough to get Marine back up. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, as you can see right there, Echo Nut AS goes off, which removes 2 or 3 debuffs, something like that. So that was able to actually get rid of the invincibility there and actually managed to land a Fear, which is going to get him off of Marine for some time. And then we actually managed to hit the sleep there as well, which would have been fantastic. The only problem is I got trolled here by my tower, and it sniped the Frog, and now he's awake again. Sib, I don't really understand the Sib drop here. And you're like, oh, it's Sib. Sib's great, like, no matter what you do, right? Well, not so much on the damage cut towers. I mean, her AS hits, what, 3 times? So, I mean, that's like 30k damage. That's pretty whatever for damage cap towers. And burning a Sib AS at that. I mean, I guess she gets her walk up early, but she wasn't really in danger at the moment anyways, due to the fact that they've got Frog chilling over there. But, 45 Sib is nothing to Nothing to be laughing at. They dropped Meg right here, which should be targeting my left tower right there. Meg, as we all know, is just straight cancer, and I believe hits my Marine here with the AS. So I mean that's just collapse. I mean, you know. All right, now we're coming back a little bit here. So now we have our Sib here, and because Marine or the Meg AS just went off, Sib's pretty much free to do whatever, and their Sib also just burned their AS, so the only real defense they have up at the moment is Frog. But thankfully, Sib's got invincibility piercing naturally. So if Frog runs over the Sib and she already has her AS going off, Frog's dead. Like we're both same LB at this point, so it's realistic that we can kill. We've also got the initial effect on Sib. So I think her AS does like double damage or something like that at the moment. So this man is 100% dead so long as she actually gets it off before Frog uses his AS. We're not too worried about the other Sib, especially with Sib having the light defensive passive, so we're already going to take 40% reduced damage even if they do hit us here. So we're not too concerned about that. Also, Frog has invincibility off, or he has it on him right now, and that actually is a good thing for us. And you're like, an enemy has invincibility on, how is that good for you? Well, thanks to the Sib buff, killing somebody with invincibility gives you free cooldown. I don't remember if you kill them or if it's just you hit somebody with invincibility. It's one of the two. Either ways, it turns Sib into a spam machine. So I believe that ends up being what plays out here. Yeah, I mean, right there, we cleared both of them thanks to Sib's AS removing buffs. Now their Sib has no buffs. Not really sure why our Sib lost her block there. I think their Sib might have gotten lucky with Sib's NS removing buffs, which if that's the case is just extremely unfortunate on our end that they managed to get the block taken away of all things there. They dropped Chifu on a tower, which I guess he does increase damage to towers, and I think Chifu's cheap, of course, at 2 costs, so doing like 100k worth of tower damage, but getting rid of Chifu, I 100% would take that deal all day, every day. I mean, if you're playing at a high enough level, you already know Chifu's just you know, one of the many other characters that are straight cancer. Confuse counter armor because reasons, not even just one stack, but like multiple stacks. And then you got his AS for extra confuse. It's just, if you don't have Isaiah or naturally confuse resistant people, you're going to have a bad time. Thankfully, they dropped them on the tower instead of my Sib, which would have made far more sense. Not sure why they did that, but I'll take it. I mean, I guess they just really wanted that tower. Which, towers only matter to a certain degree. If you know you can get towers back, losing a tower doesn't really mean all that much. But yeah, they take the tower, cool, whatever. We dropped the Tarantula there, the idea being that maybe it could have helped our Sib out enough to beat the other Sib, although it doesn't look like that was the case. It was also the drag Chifu right away from our main tower, so that way he wouldn't do as much damage to it immediately. A Tarantula with no AS being confused is who cares. And our Tarantula being even more of a G in the fact that he took that Sib AS for us, so our tower saved yet a bit more HP. Tarantula MVP right now for saving tower HP. Alright, they drop a Kana here. I don't really understand the Kana drop here. The only thing I could think of is, oh, he's going to react immediately, so I'm going to react first and get him with the Kana, which, if I did drop immediately and then get hit by the Kana, that would have been extremely bad for me. Thankfully, I just barely got my fight cost, so even if I had wanted to, I wouldn't have been able to. We also have Frog and Akari just chilling right there that we could have dropped, so. The Kana was really early. It's a little too much. And we hit a beautiful just Kana AS right there, hitting all three of them. Alright, so let's look at the situation here. We've got Chifu. He is paralyzed. He's also stopped, which means I don't have to worry about his confusion. Same to everybody else. Even though Kana is light, Sib just doesn't have enough HP to live through it. Their Kana has Veil up, so the AS won't kill their Kana immediately due to the fact that Veil is broken. Chifu should die. I mean, it is a Kana AS. And he does. Alright, so now, if you want to say an overall situation, we're still down because we have a tower loss, but who really cares? It ain't. It's not over until it's over. So now we've got a paralyzed Kana here, and they're on our side. So as long as the paralysis sets in, like a Kana versus Kana, we should just win due to the fact of paralysis. But, you know, they're not going to take getting absolutely wrecked by a Kana AS very lightly, so they're going to definitely go ahead and try and take her out here. So the idea behind Mamba here is that's pretty much all I have points for, and I don't want to use Frog yet. And people are probably like, why are you holding on to Frog for so long? And it's like, I need him for specific situations in this fight, which we will see later. And I gotta hold on to the man. So it's like, alright, I've got 2 costs. I've got 2 people I can play. Mamba, I don't really care if she dies. Also, Mamba CC will basically guarantee the kill that we get on Kana here. As we can see right there. They played Estella. I don't really, again, another drop I just don't really understand. Also, Estella's like really far back. I don't know if that was like the max closeness range they could have dropped to us. I feel like it isn't. Maybe it was, but the only real reason I can think of dropping Estella there is to try and get to my Kana quickly in order the record. That's like really the only reason, and maybe it's a tank. But Kana's AoE, so I'm not really sure what they would be tanking unless they were thinking I was going to throw a single target attacker up there, which, yeah, good luck with that. So, thankfully a misplay on their end. I mean, that's pretty much all you could say about that one. And we absolutely take advantage of that. Kana's both going off, Estella immediately nuked. That's a second Kana AS right there. Invisible as always, because it's, well, you know, it's aiming. We got ourselves here another all my roll, which, you know, is always fun. Mamba's AS is down, Kana's AS is down, so definitely not the worst of drops. But here, I think the man, the myth, the cancer himself comes in. Absolutely not. Now, Frog removes 6 buffs, so as we can see there, they got 6, so we can immediately drop them, and it's at random too, so unless they were able to get more buffs off, we're going to remove them all immediately, and then apply, what is it, blind, stun, and para, something along those lines. And because Frog's skill counts as a dispel, rather than actual stats effect itself, debuffless doesn't actually help here. It's a very easy like misconception. So debuffless is for like blind, para, bleed, stun, stuff like that. Not actual dispels, like just removing buffs entirely. And one of the buffs that can be removed is debuffless itself. So we'll see that right here. Also, damage cut can be dispelled. And, you gotta love it. So now, as we can see here, we didn't get rid of necessarily everything, but the damage has been done. All my roll has basically been neutralized in that sense. I guess Kana hit first, and the fact that she's being restricted right now, which the only reason that should be is if she actually hit first. Ideally, Frog would have hit first because since he's invincible, restrict wouldn't have actually applied, and I still would have had a Kana attacking here. Frog's doing his thing, so he's going to go ahead and give the buff to Mamba because she's closest. Mamba with quick, you love to see it. They're dropping their Frog on my Kana. I don't really understand that one at that point because I believe she had Veil up at the time. So yeah, so I had Veil up. So the only thing dropping Frog on her actually does here is apply debuffs to her. So yeah, if I was going to drop the Frog here, I would absolutely drop it on my Frog and my Mamba. I'm not, like, I guess they saw Kana as the biggest threat there, which isn't necessarily the worst idea. It's more like I would have done a bit more to actually protect my LB50 All-Myral. Especially when All-Myral has just a stupidly broken heal that can, like, bring them back to full HP hitting a tower. So I'm not really sure why they didn't do more to save an LB50 unit of all things, but here we are. And our Frog is gonna go ahead and take care of that. Our Frog used his AS, which should have removed all of their Frogs buffs. And Lammy comes in, and Lammy AS, I believe, removed 6 as well. So at 12 buffs removed, just guarantees that Frog gets hit by the AS here. So Crystallize is going to go ahead and just absolutely wreck these two. They managed to line up for me as well. You love to see it. Lammy just cleaning up. And now all of a sudden we're going from, oh man, we're getting our main tower attacked to I've got 3 attackers on the field. Now it is halftime, so we're going to have double points here, so I got to watch out for a lot more drops coming in. This is just... Oh man, that is too good. Alright, I didn't even see what they ended up dropping here. Let's see. Oh, they dropped Sib. Yeah, no. So, for people that just, I don't know, if people think it's a myth or something, but Sib does not load in with block immediately. She has to do her AS in order to get the block, so in theory, if you hit her quick enough, she won't even have it. And because Marine's AS is so instant, she was actually able to grab Sib right here before she could even get block off. Even if she did get block off, like, Frog would have just gotten rid of it immediately, so putting Sib there, like, the idea was fine. Me just having Marine at the right moment to neutralize it immediately was just, oh, chef's kiss. Love to see it. You know, absolutely we gotta get the memes in there for it. Now, they drop a Meg right here. Honestly, not a bad reply. Meg being able to sit behind the tower there while the tower is being dealt with by myself. However, Frog doesn't care about towers. And, well, you know, Frog is Cancer. And it turns out actually more Cancer than Meg, as we see right here. Frog's like, nope. We also hit the Tarantula as well. So, between the slow and then Frog hitting... So the slow would have been enough, as we can see on the left over here. The explosion starts to come out, which I'm pretty sure I've heard from others say it actually starts from the middle of the explosion and goes out. So it'll do the damage in the middle first, and then it will very quickly, of course, like creep outwards. But the initial hit is all in the middle, so if you're able to CC her quick enough, you'll be able to stop it. Something along those lines. It's kind of like people would use Alt Canal at the time, so that way, when Meg did do her AS, it would like freeze her once Alt Canal got hit, which could save people from some of the damage. Something along those lines. I think that was the general strap behind it at the time. So Meg is just not having a good time right now. Yeah, that's a Meg dealt with. as you can see, if that AS actually counted, because we were able to neutralize it between Frog and Tarantula, that would have been relatively devastating. Kana still would have lived because uh, Meg AS doesn't go through Veil, so Kana still would have lived. I'm not sure if Marine's actually in range. Like, it's very close. She could have been, which would have been annoying. Frog ran out of the range. Tarantula would have been fine. So the only one that really would have got a hit there, potentially, was Marine, which is still not a good one to lose, naturally. Especially when I need her to take towers. Not that she's my only one that takes towers, but it certainly would have hurt. But Frog being Cancer, you'll love to see it. Alright, so they dropped Chifu again here. And, well, Lammy's got confusion resistance, and then 100% confusion resistance at this. Maybe he was trying to go for Kana, even then Kana has Veil up, so wouldn't really have done much. And while Marine AS isn't up, Lammy's is, I think. Yeah. Frog is still continuing to be an absolute menace over here. Lammy AS would have removed both his damage cut and his debuff list there. So while people actually try to use Chifu on Lammy, it's actually, even though he's Earth, it's still not the greatest matchup for him. Like, if Lammy AS is up, I'm pretty sure he kills Chifu like 99% of the time. So long as, the Lammy's actually built enough. Frog living with 1 HP in a dream. They dropped Kana here. Like, they tried to drop her, like, immediately. This drop is just extremely sus. I don't know why you do this. But yeah, we caught them again. Our Kana versus their Kana. So with Kana AS, paralysis applies first and then stop. So the reason why we didn't all get stopped right there is because of how the buffs or the debuffs come out. So paralysis came out first, but because our attacks were already in motion, the paralysis won't apply until the next next attack. In which case, all of these are guaranteed the hit. So as soon as Kana gets placed, Marine NS is just going to burn off all the Veil. Kana NS is going to burn off all the Veil. This Kana was kind of just dead from the start. It would have made far more sense for them to go ahead and back it up to their tower and play more defensively. I really don't understand the extremely aggressive Kana. Like, the only way this would have worked is if Marine didn't have her block, which she still has at the moment, so even if Kana did get her entire AS off, she wouldn't have killed Marine. My Kana also has Veil, so she wouldn't have killed my Kana either. I guess she could have killed Lammy there. Frog still got invincibility up, so he would have been fine. Yeah, this is just throwing a Kana away, is basically what this is. I just place Arbo over there so we can start splitting the attention, because now I've got 3 people going after the main. I've got Kana, which probably going farther up is probably going to start using her NS on the tower there. So between Kana and Arbo hitting it, we're going to clear that tower relatively quickly. This also gives me a Kana farther back at the area, which means that she can actually cover people. She can also burn people's block, she can also get the paralysis or stop on them, depending if they're in AS range when she does it on the tower. So, realistically, Kana here is covering my Lammy, my Echo Nut, my Marine, more or less, unless they played still more like over there, then maybe not. But realistically, she's covering my Lammy, my Marine, and my Arbo right here. They dropped a Lammy on their own, which went after my Kana, which, yeah, well, you can see how well that went. We also had a second Frog, and now, Frog's Chain Frog is extremely scary, because then Then Frog starts dealing out the quickness that everybody, but times two because they're gonna keep giving it out the different people. Lammy actually gets given the water buff here, which is not something you really think of in duels. But if they placed a water unit when I have Lammy with a water buff, I'm not saying it'd be an insta kill, but if they don't have any mechanics like an overshield or like block or something like that that initially stop the damage, and it's a fire unit, they're basically dead. So now we're just pressing our advantage here. I really should have just held more stuff because something like this could happen, which is, this was realistically the only unit they could have played here and had it be viable, being Almiral, because Almiral's cancer, so, debuffless is going to stop. If this was any other unit here, Mamba would have just stunned them out and they would have been dead. But because, of course, Almiral has damage cut and debuffless on top of all the load-in buffs that she gets, she lives through it, which is gross. I think the reason Lammy doesn't catch her here is because she's in the middle of her NS, so she's not able to react at the time because she's animation locked. As you can see, LB50 Myral just being fun and interactive and cancer. Thankfully, she doesn't have invincibility pierce, and Sib has block and a ton of it, so our frogs did not care. They placed a frog on people that were already dead. I'm guessing they thought they were going to live. I'm not really sure why, though. I mean, it's LB50 all Myral AS, but sure. We just take middle tower right there, so now our ability to actually place people has increased. We just get a beautiful placement right here. Right here, we're catching their frog, we're catching their Almiral, and I think their Sib is just barely out of range of it. But we're able to catch two right there, so we took out a frog and an Almiral. While that AS relatively devastating, we're still in a strong position here because we had their middle tower. So they still have to get our middle tower to even have a chance at winning this, which, considering it's at just about full HP right now, I'm not too worried about. So now Sib should be coming through here. Unfortunately, because of the debuff removal, or the buff removal, I think she actually gets the damage cut right here and ends up killing as a result. Yeah. So normally, the AS, as long as it doesn't actually hit Lammy's damage cut right there, Lammy can tank a Sib AS and then just immediately turn around, use her AS, and either leave her crystallized for like 15, 30 seconds, whatever the time is, and then just you've got to neutralize Sib for 15 to 30 seconds, which pretty much means death. Really to any character, but Sib, all of her buffs will run out at that point, and it's going to be a Sib with no buffs, which is basically dead. We throw out a Tarantula right here. The time is pretty much up for this duel. And the reason I say tactical Tarantula inbound here is because, as we're going to see right here, this actually redirected the Meg AS, and I'm pretty sure this is actually the Sib doing damage to the main tower. So, because of that Tarantula, we actually kept all of the HP that we would have lost from the Meg AS on our main tower. Now, is the Meg AS going to clear a tower? No, thankfully, because I'm pretty sure Meg AS does reduce damage to gimmicks, in which case it really wouldn't have done that much damage to the main tower anyways. But the Tarantula pretty much made sure of it, and at a 2 cost at the end of the game where it takes, maybe like 3 seconds to get the points back for it, worthwhile. Hence the name Tactical Tarantula. That's Marine. We placed Marine right at the end there. Why? I mean, it didn't really matter at that point. We still had their main tower and they didn't. So they just didn't have enough time to DPS the tower. But, just to make sure of it, we dropped Marine there just to, buy the last of the time for the duel to run out. And, well, that's a W right there, baby. Only 49 points. Feels bad, man. But, yeah, that's a W. Alright, so that's going to be the end to this more educational episode of our meme duels here. I'll probably attempt to do some live games, maybe. Maybe I'll record some. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do this. This one's more of a pilot more than anything. Anyways, either way, I appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something off that episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one, whether it be a meme or an educational one. See?